river flowing in my soul. I got peace, peace, peace. I got joy like a fountain flowing in my soul.
So the disciples come to Jesus after a long day of ministry. After 3 days, the crowd stayed with him for 3 days in the wilderness, and they say, "Listen, teacher, the people have been here all day. They must be hungry. We need to send them home."
Los discípulos acuden a Jesús después que de una gran multitud pasaron 3 días con Jesús en el desierto. Le dicen, "Escucha, maestro, la gente ha estado aquí todo el día. Deben tener hambre. Tenemos que enviarlos a la casa."
And Jesus says, "Oh, no, that's all right. You give them something to eat."
Y Jesús dijo, no, está bien, dales de comer.
Can you imagine the faces of the disciples? Come again? Say what? But Jesus, there must be like 5,000 people out there. Actually, there were 5,000 men and women and children, so maybe 15, 20,000 people.
¿Te imaginas la cara de los discípulos volver otra vez, decir qué? Pero Jesús, aquí debe haber como 5,000 personas.
But then Jesus asked them, "So what do you have?"
Pero entonces Jesús le pregunta, ¿qué tienes?
Well, there is this boy, Jesus, who has given us 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish.
Bueno, está este muchacho que nos has dado 5 panes y 2 peces.
Okay, good. Jesus says, "Good. Take those 5 breads and 2 fish." And then he takes them and he blesses them. And then he asks the disciples to just start passing them out.
Muy bien, Jesús tomó esos 5 panes y 2 peces y los bendice. Luego pide a los discípulos que se los den a la gente.
Notice nothing has happened yet. As of this point, Jesus didn't multiply the food in front of them. The bread didn't just turn into giant loaves or anything like that.
Fíjate, todavía no ha pasado nada. Jesús no multiplicó la comida delante de ellos. El pan no se convirtió en panes gigantes.
Instead, as they started to pass the food out, and it went from person to person, and everybody took some and passed it on to the next person, strangely, the food multiplied.
En cambio, cuando empezaron a pasar la comida y todos tomaron un poco y la pasaron a la siguiente persona, extrañamente la comida se multiplicó.
Now, some of you may say, how exactly did that happen?
Algunos de ustedes pueden decir, vale, ¿cómo ocurrió esto exactamente?
Well, Bridget imagines that little boy probably wasn't the only one who had food. And I think it's very likely that there were other people in the crowd who had food. And as they saw the generous act of this little boy who was sharing everything he had, they felt inspired to share what they had as well.
Bueno, me imagino que el niño no era el único que tenía comida. Creo que cuando la gente vio cómo este niño compartía generosamente todo lo que tenía, otros se sintieron inspirados a hacer lo mismo.
And as more and more people shared the little they had, everybody was able to eat.
Y a medida que más y más personas compartieron lo que tenían, todos pudieron comer.
But Pastor Frank, are you saying that God didn't really do a miracle?
Pero Pastor Frank, ¿está usted diciendo que Dios realmente no hizo un milagro?
No, I'm not saying that at all. But let me ask you this, and this is the question of the day. This is the $1 million question. Let me ask you this. What is the greater miracle? To magically make some food appear, or to get people to share?
No, estoy diciendo eso en absoluto, pero déjame preguntarte esto. ¿Cuál es el mayor milagro? ¿Hacer aparecer comida por arte de magia o conseguir que la gente comparta?
And what will have the greater impact on people's lives? To show them a magic act or to have them actually learn about their acts of generosity and what kind of effect that can have on all those others.
¿Y qué tendrá mayor impacto en la vida de la gente? ¿Mostrarlos un acto de magia o hacer que aprendan cómo sus actos de generosidad pueden alimentar a los hambrientos?
I believe that this story of the feeding of 5,000 has been teaching us this lesson for centuries, and it continues to do so today.
Creo que la historia de la alimentación de los 5,000 lleva siglos enseñándolos esta lección y sigue haciéndolo hoy.
It teaches us that giving is more blessed than receiving. It teaches us that sharing generously with others is a divine act that has miraculous results.
Nos enseña que dar es más bendito que recibir, que compartir generosamente con los demás es un acto divino que tiene resultados milagrosos.
As we share what we have, even if it may seem very little, we help solve the problems and obstacles we face as a society today.
Al compartir lo que tenemos, aunque parezca poco, ayudamos a resolver los problemas y obstáculos a los que nos enfrentamos como sociedad hoy en el día.
You could even go as far as saying, as we share our resources, we help make all those prayers resolved that go up every day to God about the problems in this world, especially the hunger.
Incluso se podría llegar a decir que compartir nuestros recursos es ayudar a Dios a responder a las oraciones que rezan todos los días personas desesperadas.
Apparently, Bridget is not the only one who came up with this interpretation. There's another very famous world religious leader that shares this, and his name is Pope Francis. And he said this. You pray for the hungry, and then you feed them. That's how prayer works.
Eso es exactamente lo que dijo el Papa Francisco. Se reza por los hambrientos y luego se le da de comer. Así es como funciona la oración.
It takes you and me to help God answer prayers in this world.
En otras palabras, la oración contesta de dos partes. Uno, pedir ayuda a Dios, y dos, hacer lo que puedas para ayudar a que suceda.
In other words, there are two parts to prayer. Asking God for help, and then do what you can to make it happen.
En otras palabras, la oración contesta de dos partes. Pedir ayuda a Dios y hacer los que puedas para ayudar a que suceda.
That's how God works, through people like you and me.
Te necesitamos a ti y a mí para ayudar a Dios a responder a las oraciones.
Jesus could have miraculously waved his hand and made all people feel satisfied on that day. You could have said, I command you no longer to be hungry.
Jesús podría haber hecho milagrosamente que la multitud se sintiera satisfecha. Podría haber agitado la mano y decir, ordeno que ya no tengas hambre.
But that's not how Jesus works. That's not how God works. God works God's miracles through people like you and me.
Pero no es así como trabaja Jesús. No es así como trabaja Dios. Dios quiere usarnos. Dios quiere hacer milagros a través de gente como tú y yo.
And that to me is mind-boggling.
Y eso para mí es elucidamente.
To sum it all up, all of us are invited to take part in the miracle of sharing.
En resumen, todos estamos invitados a participar hoy en el milagro de compartir.
Once we start generously giving, using the little that we have, when we start sharing and offering our talents, our graces, our time, our resources, we will take part in God's ongoing miracles, and we will see answered prayers all around us.
Cuando empecemos a usar generosamente lo poco que tenemos, cuando empezamos a compartir y ofrecer nuestros talentos y gracias, participemos en los continuosos milagros de Dios y vernos oraciones contestadas a nuestro alrededor.
God invites us to take our part in the miracle of the feeding of the multitudes today.
Dios nos invita a participar hoy en el milagro de alimentar a la multitud.
And that's why we offer our church to be a community garden, to feed the poor. That's why we start the People's Pantry in our garden as well.
Por eso ofrecemos la propiedad de nuestra iglesia para que sea un huerto comunitario. Por eso ofrecemos también una despensada para la gente.
But friends, we can always do more. We can always be more generous. And that's what this passage is calling us to do today.
Pero amigos, podemos hacer más. Podemos ser más generosos con nuestros recursos.
Let's be encouraged today to give generously to keep the miracle going. Amen.
Animémonos a dar generosamente para que el milagro continúe. Amén.